Welcome to the show. My name is Jeremy Poole, and I'm the host of The Moment, where we explore and celebrate the necessary transformational process you must go through to achieve a high level of success in the real estate industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited, and you should be too, because you're in for a treat. As you can see, we're doing things a little bit differently today. This is not your run-of-the-mill Moment interview. Today, we are doing a women's-only panel discussion, and I've searched far and wide for the most well-respected, some of the most accomplished women serving the Washington State real estate market. Before we dive into the interview, I just want to say, number one, we're doing this not at an office, not at some normal set, but at a $9.2 million luxury listing, which is a 10,000 square foot mansion in Queen Anne, Seattle, thanks to my good friend, Melissa Waller. So let's dive right into it. Enough from me, let's hear from our panelists. If we can start on the right side and give us your name, your title, and what company you're with.
My name is Tanya Wortham. I am the Business Development Manager at New American Funding.
Awesome.
I'm Allie Lord, and I'm the Branch Manager of the Kirkland Caliber office.
I'm Kelsey Myers, and I am the Regional Sales Executive and Assistant Vice President with Fidelity National Title.
And I'm Anne Marie Bachman, and I am the Senior Retail Recruiter for Caliber Home Loans.
Hello, my name is Yesenia Celestino, and I am a Branch Manager for New American Funding.
Thank you so much. Well, right on. Let's dive right into the interview questions. First up is going to be Kelsey Myers. Kelsey, correct me if I'm wrong, but being a successful title rep at the level that you're at really comes down to having the ability to develop and maintain high quality relationships with a vast group of really successful both lenders and agents. The questions I have for you is really quite simple, is how are you able to effectively maintain so many relationships over the last 20 years of your career? And I'm wondering if you have a specific philosophy or a secret to managing so many relationships.
I don't think it's any secret. I don't have any secrets. But I feel as though managing the relationships come from a deeper want to provide a great service for my clientele. And also having a team to back that up. Okay. You can have all the best relationships out there in the world, and if you don't have the team that you work with on a daily course of business to make the transactions go forward and close and get to that end goal, which is recording, right, to make the homeownership dream come true, then you don't have those relationships anymore. Sure. A lot of my relationships that I have in this business and have had for the past 20 years are friends. Okay. And those are my clients. Right. And they know that when they call me, the buck stops with me. Right. They know that I'm going to go to the mat for them all the time. But there's also the caveat to that. Right. I also protect my inside team. And my inside team knows that I will always have their back regardless of anything going on. Okay. So not only do I build those relationships with my clients, but I also build those relationships within my inside teams. Whether it be the title team or the escrow team or upper management, I have everyone at my fingertips that I can reach out to and make the transactions smoothly as possible. So I think that's maybe my secret sauce, but it's just learning how people work and working with them and making them feel important. Whether it's my inside team that feels important, which I try to do on a daily basis and appreciate them. And it's also my clientele that I tell them all the time, thank you and I appreciate you. We are a team. Because I'm not just a title rep. Sure. I am actually a partnership 100%. With my clients.
Love that. Yeah. And I have one more question to that before I allow the other panelists to jump in here, is that you said that they're your friends. And I think that's you being humble. Because when you first got into the business, you had to build those relationships. Now you have so many friends. Like anytime I mention your name and I told people that you're going to be on the panel, people light up like, oh my God, if she's on the panel, I'm going to watch. And if I'm invited, then obviously I'll go. So there has to be something different that you're doing. Because I've been in the business since 2009. And I've seen a lot of great people, a lot of wonderful people who had interesting, engaging personalities that didn't do so well. So there has to be something else. And maybe perhaps our panelists can jump in.
I have to say that consistency and persistency wins the game every single time. When I get up in the morning and when I go to bed at night, I want to make sure that I'm always going to be doing the best and the right thing by my clients and by my company. And I think that that's probably a driving force. And my clients know that when they call me, they're going to get the best service possible.
I love it.
Whether I've got the deal or not.
She's selling.
myself.
I like it. Right on. Well, thank you. Do you guys have any questions or anything you want to add in there?
I'm curious, like, how has COVID, just being in this environment, changed the world for you? Because we're in the lending world here on the mortgage side of it, but I'm so curious what's changed for you.
So it's a fun question, and it's interesting because COVID has done a lot of changes, and it's happened very rapidly, and it's changes that needed to happen. We're so close, I call it my boyfriend, but Ron, which is the remote online notary, and we all know that my boyfriend Ron wants to be just like used all the time, but I mean, we're getting closer to that. And so having our teams work from home, we've learned through that to navigate through that, and it's created interesting dynamics within our operations, the same that you would actually have as a lender, and your guys are working from home and your processing team is somewhere else. Same thing happens for me. I didn't get to go back to the office until July, so I was at home by myself, you know, trying to call in and make sure that I showed the love, and I was always supporting my teams, but it was definitely a challenging time. However, anytime we're set with a challenge, there's always a gift to be had, right? There's always a gift in that challenge and a silver lining. And so I feel like it's always brought us closer during this time. And now that I'm able to go back into the office, it's almost more rewarding seeing them. Like today, I went in, I brought them lunch, and it was fun. I had my gangster outfit on, you know, it was like, you know, almost Halloween, and they light up and they give me crap all the time about how I'm making copy packages, and they know that I would go to the end of the earth for them. Yeah. But it's true, you know, it's brought us closer together, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, Allie, you're up next.
Okay.
The question I have for you is, it's such a cool story, and I just met her, and I had the opportunity to learn your full story, so hopefully we can get a good amount of that during our time here today, is that you literally started out as a receptionist in a mortgage office, and now you are arguably one of the most, if not the most successful mortgage branch manager in the entire United States, meaning that your branch in Kirkland, Washington does more volume than any other branch for any other company in the country. That's what they say. The question I have for you is, I've noticed that the majority of the women that are working, the majority of the loan officers that you have hired that are working in your team that's doing so much volume are women. Are there any certain advantages to being a woman loan officer is the question I have.
It's a very good question. So just, I think many of us know this industry, if you look at the lending industry, 60% of lenders are men. Right? So we have 40% are women. And the average age is 54. Yeah. So a 54-year-old man. And in my office alone, we have 37 loan officers that are producing. 17 of them are male, and then the rest are women. So we have 20 women loan officers. So when I look at that, yes, we do have a lot of powerful women, just total powerhouses. But we also have a lot of powerhouse men. Sure. So I want to make sure we point that out because they're phenomenal. But when you look at females in the industry, we're the minority. Mm-hmm. So when we look at that, we're able to gather them into one central location, and they're really feeding off of each other. And so I want to look at just our office as a whole, and I realize, yes, there are a lot of females and a lot of powerful females that are in the mortgage industry that are in my office. But there's a common denominator, and I didn't know what it was. So I went through and I had all of our loan officers take a test. And they had to do a DISC test, like Strength Finders, a grit test. I don't know if you guys have taken the grit test. But going through, what I found was all of them. Hands down, you put it on an Excel spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. When I'm looking for other loan officers that will attract to be in our office, sure, they all fit under the same categories. Interesting. So it might not just be that they're powerhouse females, it's just a powerhouse office and lenders in general. And so going through the common denominators is they were all influential. Mm-hmm. So if you're taking DISC, they're high Ds, mm-hmm, so they're very dominant. Mm-hmm. They're very passionate. They're very persuasive. Mm-hmm. They're very competitive. And when I look at those categories, that's what makes a phenomenal loan officer If it's for you, if it's with you, that's what you're going to find.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say it's just because there's women.
Okay.
I will say I'm very proud of my women, but it's also just the characteristics.
Gotcha. I love that. So using DISC or Strengths Finder,
Yeah.
I'm very well versed in all of those.
Yeah.
Is that something that you decided to do internally on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
that was me just kind of jumping in and going. I know I was a loan officer for many years before I ended up going into the role of sales manager and branch manager, and I knew what drove me,
Okay.
but wondering, okay, there's a common thread
Sure.
between these, and the fact that when I talk to loan officers thinking to join us,
Sure.
I'll say, you might not be a fit for us,
Really?
because I look at
Yeah.
who's in our office.
Okay.
And I know what really drives them, and it's intimidating to some people. So decided, let's do a little test and figure it out.
So I would imagine that there's probably a certain vibe, a certain culture that's in your office. I wasn't planning on asking this, but
Yeah.
due to the direction that this is going, is how would you describe the vibe or the culture in your office?
Absolutely. So when you have our top producer will close just shy of probably 300 million this year, just one individual loan officer. And our lowest producer will probably be right in the range of just shy of 30 million. Industry-wide,
Yeah.
12 million as a lender in a year,
Yeah.
44 units, is you're phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'll take you all day long. You are a wonderful loan officer. And we're averaging this year per loan officer, the minimum will close about 140 units this year. So when you look at that, right? So I'm telling you these numbers because everyone is pushing each other
Yeah.
for excellence.
Yeah.
And when you're in an environment like that, the culture comes that there's a synergy that everyone shares. Because the only way my top producer is going to be better is if you literally practice what you preach. So if she can share it or he can share it, and then everyone will kind of spin off of each other.
Sure.
So it's an environment of sharing, it's an environment of building each other up and coaching each other, because there's enough business to go around right now.
I love that. Good stuff. Do you guys have any questions?
I'm a big fan of those tests that you're talking about, the DISC test and Graham's. And I think that a lot of people get into the industry and they choose a role in the industry that is more like throwing a piece of gum at a wall and hoping for the best. And if they took a step back and realized that there's a lot to offer, there's title, there's leadership, there's mortgage, real estate, there's even more than that in the real estate and mortgage industry, and they took those tests and they went and talked to some people in different roles and then decided what they wanted to do, that there would be more people that could find success faster.
Yes.
Because the roles in real estate and mortgage are much different. And you can be somebody that's really good at business, but you can also be a really good athlete. We were talking about that earlier. Just because you're a really good football player doesn't mean you can ice skate.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I really believe in that.
I think it makes you definitely
key.
fit.
Yeah. And I love that you tell people, honestly, I don't know that you're a really great fit for this office or even this business.
Yeah.
Let's explore what might be the better fit for you.
Yes.
Real estate agents are very high eye. They want to go out. They want to connect with people. And mortgage loan officers are very often, they want to focus on the task at hand, and they want to, be a little bit more stoic. So yeah, that's great.
That's fantastic. Here's another interesting question I was just thinking about while you're saying what you're saying is, do you look for seasoned loan officers, or do you look for loan officers who are green but tend to have specific characteristics coming out of a particular industry?
Absolutely. So we've done twofold in the past year, because if you believe in our culture, every loan officer that I hire has to want growth. So if you're seasoned and you want growth, I will absolutely take you hands down. But if you're brand new and you want growth, I will take you hands down. And so we've done two platforms. Typically what we'll do with someone that's new into the industry, we'll partner them up with one of our seasoned loan officers. They'll mentor them through. I coach them weekly. Then the loan officer is their mentor, and they're going to grow them. So we look at our loan officers going, you want to be a 300 million a year producer?
Yeah.
We'll show you how to do it. We have all the tools to do it. It's there. And you can tell by someone's personality test if they want growth, if they're competitive, if they're compassionate. So yeah.
Awesome. I love that. That's fantastic. Thank you. Tanya Wortham, you're up next. All right. I was really excited to have you on the panel because you've been able to do something incredibly unique, which is you've had a very successful career as both in the lending industry, on the real estate side as well. And now that you're back in the mortgage industry, working on the corporate level, the question I have for you is this. So many other people have tried to do what you've done, which is crush it in one side of the real estate arena and then try something else, and they fall on their face and they fail. Why do you think that you've been able to succeed?
Well, I started in real estate, and it was just luck, really. I had gone and talked to a few people, and I wanted to start a new career, and several people around me had told me that they thought I'd be a good real estate agent. So I got my license, and it really was a good fit.
Okay.
It's not like that for everybody.
No.
And so, and then on the mortgage side, I was in real estate for a few years, and my husband was a loan officer, and him and our business partner started a mortgage company. And so I started getting involved in the family business and realizing that as a new company that was up and coming, there were a lot of roles that weren't being fulfilled because as we grew, those would be fulfilled. And so I just jumped in. And the lesson there really is to be bold and take action.
Yes.
And anybody that's waiting for all their ducks to get in a row and everything to be perfect is really wasting time.
Yes.
Because I didn't know anything about what I was doing, but I was willing to do it. And I had a lot of passion behind me, and of course we were building the business. And through that, I really sharpened my leadership saw, and that's when I realized that that was something that I really wanted to be involved in. And so I worked in the mortgage company doing lots of different things for many years, and we sold the company, and I took a little time off, and then I was approached on the real estate side to get back into it in leadership. So I became a team leader at a couple different Keller Williams branches. And then retired. My husband and I have always had a dream to live in novelty, and once our youngest was out of the house, we decided to go for it. So we traveled the world and came back only because of COVID and the lockdown. We have, all of our families up here, so we figured we'd come back to Washington and write it out. I've been looking for an opportunity, and I would say that what brought me back into the mortgage industry is it's all about the who, and it's really always been that for me. Ironically, if I look back in history at my career, I started in real estate, and I met our business partner, who was my loan officer.
Wow.
In the beginning, and then evolved. I got into builders. I wasn't working with him anymore. My husband was a loan officer. We'd all become friends. They decided to start a mortgage company. So that went on, and then the president of our mortgage company was Tony Blodgett.
Okay.
And now I work with Tony at New American Funding.
Wow.
And 16 of the operations people that work at New American Funding work at Mortgage Advisory Group. So I work in an environment that is very familiar to me and feels very like family.
Sure.
And it's a team that's very strong because they've been together for 16 years.
Wow.
So when you have a career that spans many, many years and you want to do something different, you should have choices by that point. And I don't know that I would ever choose to get into an environment that I wasn't feeling that connection with the people again, because I've been there when it wasn't there, and I've been there when it was, and it's definitely a better environment.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I would say that it just boils down to that. Now, as far as being able to find success in selling real estate versus being in leadership, I'm very goal oriented, and I believe in the nuts and bolts of setting goals and narrowing it down to action steps, getting a coach, reading books, understanding the industry, because it's much different now than it used to be. I was going to comment to you that one of the things that has set you apart is your integrity, because title is completely different now than it was. And a lot of people fell by the wayside because they were doing business in title in a way that was, you know, not necessarily had all the integrity. So the people that rose to the top, like you, were the ones that were successful and were able to do that. I was really impressed by that. So that's really what it boils down to is I just put my mind to something, and when I decide I'm going to do it, I get it done.
You do, absolutely. And
Yeah,
the thing
very
that
determined.
the thing that really got me thinking about this for you, this question in particular, is I recently have adopted this motto called AIA. It stands for Aggressively Initiate Action. And ever since I met you, like me and Tanya had this connection to where I could, look, Tanya, I'm thinking about doing this event, or I'm thinking about doing this. And immediately she goes into, okay, like, what's the plan? How much money do you need? Who can we pull in together? And it's like within 5 minutes, I have a business plan and I know what's going to happen tomorrow, and something big happens. And so I would say, for me, knowing you for the few years that I've known you, is that you put massive action behind a really clear-cut, kind of simple plan, but it's that confidence and that enthusiasm that feeds that seed that was kind of always there, but you give it the sunlight and the water that it needs to allow it to sprout.